I'm going to show you how I season a roast. And also we're going to prepare it to age it in the refrigerator for about 2 to 3 days. 3 days is more likely that I normally leave it in the refrigerator to dry age it and prepare it for cooking. And when I do that cooking part, we're gonna do another video, because then this video is gonna be so long if I cook it, because it takes a long time to cook. But anyway, so today we're gonna focus on seasoning this roast and well, trimming it, seasoning it, and preparing it to dry age it. And so let's do this. So I'm going to trim a little bit of this extra fat here, extra skin that we don't necessarily, it's not good eats. We don't necessarily want it to have it with our roast. Well, this kind of fat anyway. On the other side of this roast has this really nice fatty skin that one we wanted to keep, so when we cook it, that's going to give us such a good flavoring on the meat. You know, I don't want to, nowadays it's very expensive, so I don't want to, being very careful, so I don't want to get the meat that, you know, we wanted to keep. Anyway, so sometimes when you get a roast, and my favorite cut of roast, which is not very expensive, you know, this is called a rump roast, and it's not very expensive. You see how this fat is? This is the type of the fat on top of the roast that you would want to keep. And I actually, you see how this area over here, I actually, you know, from the butcher, I actually like it better if the butcher would keep a little bit more of this fat, because when you're cooking it slow and long, it would be really good to soak in all that deliciousness into the meat and cooking it really nicely. So anyway, so I think I'm done trimming it, and I'm going to put the seasoning. Well, first of all, what you need to do is do the salt and pepper. And what I'm putting here is sea salt. You can do kosher salt. You can do sea salt, you know, and you can do Himalayan, but sea salt is pretty good for me. You know, I've been using it for meat. Most of the time I would use kosher salt also. And make sure that you have it, you know, a lot, like liberally, like put a lot of salt and put a lot of seasoning. This is only going to be, you know, curing and seasoning the meat, actually, it's also tenderizing it during that 3 days period. So now I'm going to put the pepper. And again, do it liberally. The more, the better. And don't be afraid, you can wash your hands afterwards and wipe your meal afterwards with disinfectant and everything. But you really need to put it in every corner, every side of this meat. There you go. Okay, now, and then all of these things, you know, on the chopping board here, you can actually put them, you know, all of the seasoning in there. You can put a little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to put this seasoning that I made. It's a 14 spices mixed all together, ingredients in this seasoning. It's my meat dry seasoning, dry rub. So I'm just going to put it all over the meat, like I said, similar to the salt and pepper, very, very liberally. And this way, all that spices is gonna sink into the meat and season it really good. If anybody wants this seasoning that I made, or curious about the seasoning that I made, it's really delicious. Let me know and I'll make them for you. Okay, I'm going to link the recipe for how I cook it too. I'm going to, and so you can see a handwritten recipe for this roast. Anyway, like I said, the rump roast is really very, it's not so expensive, especially nowadays. It's not so expensive, but it's the best meat, cut of meat that that is good for roasting. You know, for a whole family, this will probably feed about 6 people. Well, my family anyway, they love meat. Anyway, so here we go. So to dry it in, to dry age it in the refrigerator, just have a shallow pan. It's also from one of my, and you just put it on there like to air it out. So when you're aging it, the air would go underneath and not have to have your meat sweat. Once the meat sweat, you can't actually keep the juice in there if that's the case. So you want to seal the juice inside the meat. That will make it really, really tender when you cook it. So now we're gonna cover it with cheesecloth, and that's about it. And then putting it in the refrigerator. Okay, so the air would flow within and all around the meat, the roast, the rump roast. So there you go. After 3 days, we're going to take it out from the refrigerator and we're gonna cook it in 3 days. All right? So, but for now, this is how I season and prepare it for cooking. Okay, and again, if anybody wants to try my seasoning, please let me know. Give me a comment, give me a holler, and I will, let you try my seasoning.